Right, well, let's get stuck into what's happening at Arsenal then. Let's get some more reaction to, well, Arteta's news conference, the injury to Tierney and lots more. We can speak to Sophie Nicolaou, who's from the Highbury Squad podcast and joins us from LA here on Sky Sports News today. Sophie, good to have you with us. Good morning to you over there. Let's start with Tierney and this injury. Could be 6 weeks out. I mean, he's such an important player for you. He's been one of the highlights of the season, hasn't he? So just how damaging potentially is that to the club's hopes of winning the Europa League?
Hi to everyone. Good afternoon to you guys. Thanks for having me. It's devastating news. It's interesting when Arteta said that it's not as serious as we thought, but for us Arsenal fans, I think losing Kieran Tierney for 6 weeks is very serious. He's been one of our leaders on the pitch where we've lacked them. He brings a certain style of play to Arsenal Football Club that we haven't really seen before. He shows some grit, tenacity. He's definitely vocal on the pitch. Some people think you don't have to bellow or yell to illustrate that you're a true leader. But unfortunately, when Arsenal lacks leaders, he becomes very important and integral. And in essence, along with Saka and the other young player who's shining this year, ESR, have become the backbone to everything good that we do. So it's a devastating loss, especially as we're still in the Europa League, which is our one-way ticket back into the Champions League, Jules.
Yeah, and Sophie, is the seriousness, as you put it, of that injury to Tierney made all the more so by the fact that there's not too much obvious options to replace him in that position?
Well, this is where, the rubber meets the road, and not having a decent squad, but an evolutionary squad. Arteta has definitely inherited a mess. Emery also inherited a mess, and it was a mess towards the end of Wenger's tenure also. So you're gonna find us maybe having to play Saka in that position, which takes away what he does going forward. He's so explosive. He can make things happen on his own, but he can also make things happen for other people. My choice would be to play Cedric in that role. He's very flexible and he's versatile and can do that. And perhaps use Chambers at right back so we don't lose the Saka, ESR, Ødegaard momentum that we had just before ESR and Saka unfortunately missed that game against Liverpool. So it's definitely going to be an interesting summer for us, Jules, because that's a position we're going to have to fill, because Kieran Tierney has suffered a few injuries since he's been at the Arsenal.
And just looking back at the weekend and that Liverpool defeat, we heard Gary Neville there talking about the players and the relationship with Arteta, but specifically critical of that performance and everything that's happening at the moment there. Arteta saying they have to accept those opinions, but I mean, is this the lowest ebb that he's been in his time as manager there, would you say?
I think that I feel for him, and at the same time, he's made some fundamental mistakes. He's tried to put square pegs in round holes. He's played players out of position. He's dropped players like Pepe and Lacazette, when they've performed well. Pepe's a form player. He needs to continually be able to be part of the team when he does well. He goes too hot and cold. And so with Aubameyang, I think he made the right decision benching him against Tottenham in the North London derby. He's had a woeful season. There was a period, unfortunately, that he was dealing with where his mother wasn't well, but his form wasn't good before that. And I think that we want him to do so well that we found excuses. And I think it's gotten to that point now where that Liverpool game was so glaring. He seemed apathetic. He had zero leadership skills again as captain. He's thrown his toys out the pram since he's been benched. What Arsenal captain turns up late to a North London derby, let alone any game, but to turn up late to the North London derby and then not expect any repercussions for it just shows you the cultural issue that Arteta has at the club. And by that I mean the culture that has been built. Players being enabled, being able to come and go as they please. This stems from the Wenger era. Emery tried to stamp it out. He couldn't. And Arteta is trying to do that and being met with resistance. And I think that's what Gary's talking about. You're seeing a little bit of resistance, and that's just not a good look at all.
Well, not a good look, as you say. What does he do about it?
He benches him. I wouldn't have started him against, I think it was Olympiacos, the game after the North London derby, where we were playing in the Europa League. I would have made him work hard for it. I would have made him earn his spot back. I don't care if you're captain of Arsenal Football Club or how much money you're earning. You put in a shift when you put the shirt on. And he has not been putting in a shift. Lacazette is much more of a leader, and we play better when he's in that number 9 role and he has those young players like Saka and ESR around him. So I would unleash Martinelli on Thursday. I know that we've been very careful bringing him back, and that's been the smart thing to do. But Arsenal fans now, I think most sensible Arsenal fans think, why not? And also, why not give some of these other players a chance in the league? The players that he's relied on, like Willian, who actually has a better statistical record this season than Aubameyang when it comes to effort as well. We just need to try something different, and this team's going to look very different next season. So why not try to infuse a little bit of that youth as we're ending the Premier League? I know it's a little bit different in the Europa League, Jules, but he's going to have to take risks because so far he's been playing it way too safe. Played it way too safe against City. We lost 1-0. Played it way too safe against Liverpool. We've lost twice to Villa this season, twice to Wolves. Burnley have taken 4 points on us. They say trust the process, but what is the process that we are trusting? In the league, we've yet to see it. In the cup, kudos to him. He won the FA Cup. We're still in the Europa League, which means there's every hope that we could get back into the Champions League, but not because we can win it. It's what the rewards fiscally will bring to Arsenal Football Club, because we have fallen way behind our so-called competitors.
Yeah, and the bad results you mentioned there, including the Liverpool one, absolutely take on board. But also in recent weeks, when you look, that the North London derby win, 1-3-1 at Leicester, came back from 3-0 down against West Ham to take a point at 3-3. Does that still say to you this is a man who's lost the dressing room, as many people are saying, that a 3-0 comeback suggests the players are behind him?
I think it's the players are happy when we play a certain way. I think that's the difference. There are certain players that don't like the defensive approach, the negative approach. That Leicester game was probably some of our best football we've played this season, and Pepe shone in that match. And we did things that we ordinarily don't do. And I think what's difficult is that when you chop and change, and you flip the switch the way he does, it's very difficult for players. Kevin Campbell talks about that on our Highbury Squad podcast, in that the players have to be adaptable, and unfortunately Arsenal have not had adaptable players for years, and this has been building and building. So you're asking someone to rectify problems in 18 months that have really been 17 years in the making in the Premier League. It's been 17 years since Arsenal Football Club have won the Premier League. It's been, 10 years since we've actually been competitive in the Premier League, barring the season Leicester won it, which was probably the season we should have won it. We weren't able to do that. So, yes, it's there. The talent is there, but it's too inconsistent, and they're not mentally engaged for 90 minutes over 38 games. They just can't do it.
Sophie, it's been really interesting getting your thoughts. Thank you so much for joining us from LA. Big game tomorrow night now, isn't it? But really good to speak to you. Thank you.
Thanks for having me.